New Zealand agrees to a wide-ranging free trade deal with India, cutting tariffs on 95% of its exports, despite criticism from a key coalition partner. Thailand says it has agreed to more discussions with Cambodia to end their deadly border conflict. The two sides will hold fresh talks on Wednesday. Denmark said it would summon the US ambassador after President Trump announced the appointment of a special envoy to Greenland, the Danish autonomous territory he has threatened to annex. Italy fines Apple $115 million, saying it violated users' privacy by allegedly abusing its dominant position in the mobile app market. And a brawl breaks out inside the Turkish parliament during a debate on the federal budget. The opposition, CHP, accuses the ruling coalition of slandering its municipal officials. We begin with a major warning, not from a government, but from tech giants. Companies are urging employees not to travel outside the United States, not because of technical glitches, but due to growing visa risks. Well, the concern centers around US visa delays, raising fears that employees who travel abroad may not be able to return. Microsoft has become the latest tech giant to issue a travel advisory for certain visa-holding employees. The company has warned staff to avoid international travel due to delays in US visa renewals, especially for H-1B holders. According to an internal memo sent by Microsoft's immigration team, several US consulates have been rescheduling visa appointments by months, significantly delaying the renewal process. And employees already outside the US have also been cautioned over an increased risk of being stranded abroad.
As shared yesterday, some U.S. consulates are rescheduling existing H-1B or H-4 visa appointments and pushing dates out by several months. Rescheduling notifications are concentrated in Chennai and Hyderabad, with some unverified reports from other consulates. New dates are as far out as June 2026.
Well, Microsoft is advising employees who still have valid visa stamps to return to the US before their visas expire. Those planning overseas travel are being urged to check if a new visa stamp is required for re-entry. The company warned that if appointments are delayed or rescheduled during travel, employees may not be able to return and could face restrictions on working remotely for US-based roles.
You have upcoming travel, plus will need a new visa to return, plus your H-1B visa appointment was rescheduled months later. You should strongly consider changing your travel plans. You cannot return until your new visa stamp is issued, and it's highly unlikely that the appointment can be moved earlier.
Well, Microsoft now joins other major tech companies, including Google and Apple, in advising caution. Last week, Google warned employees that visa appointment delays at US embassies could stretch up to a year in some locations. Apple also issued guidance advising staff without valid visa stamps to avoid leaving the US, citing unpredictable and extended processing delays. Google and Microsoft recommended postponing non-essential travel to avoid prolonged stays outside the country. But what's the reason for all this? Well, the delays are linked to enhanced social media vetting requirements introduced by the Trump administration. Visa applicants, including H-1B workers and their dependents, are now undergoing expanded online presence reviews. The US State Department has confirmed that embassies are prioritizing deeper scrutiny over faster processing. Indians make up the largest share of H-1B visa holders, and the impact of these delays is expected to be felt most sharply by Indian workers in the tech industry. The situation echoes an earlier wave of corporate travel advisories issued in September, following the US government's introduction of a $100,000 fee on new H-1B visas. Well, the program, capped at 85,000 visas a year, remains a critical pipeline for skilled foreign talent in the US tech industry. Tech companies, however, say the growing restrictions are making it harder and slower to hire global talent, a key workforce for the sector. So for thousands of skilled workers, the message is clear. If travel isn't essential, staying put may be the safest option. Moving on to Bangladesh now, the situation in the country continues to be tense, with Dhaka increasingly under scrutiny over the brutal lynching of a Hindu citizen. It follows the death of Osman Hadi, a controversial leader who was shot in Dhaka last week. Well, earlier today, scores of people staged a demonstration in front of the National Press Club in Dhaka, calling for security for minorities. The country reported another incident of political violence today. An unidentified gunman shot a senior leader of the student-led National Citizen Party in Khulna. Former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina also launched a blistering critique of the Mohamed Yunus-led interim government, accusing it of emboldening extremist elements and pushing Bangladesh towards diplomatic isolation. Well, the Awami League leader who fled to India after losing power to the 2024 mass protests said that extremism was being manufactured in Bangladesh under the current administration. Hasina said this hostility is being driven by the same actors who marched on the Indian consulate and embassy, attacked media officers and targeted minorities with impunity. She alleged that the interim government has placed extremist figures in positions of power and released convicted terrorists from prison.
The strain you are witnessing is entirely of Yunus's making. His government issues hostile statements against India, fails to protect religious minorities, and allows extremists to dictate foreign policy, then expresses surprise when tensions rise. India has been Bangladesh's most steadfast friend and partner for decades. The ties between our nations are deep and fundamental. They will outlast any temporary government. I am confident that once legitimate governance is restored, Bangladesh will return to the sensible partnership we cultivated over 15 years.
Hasina also reacted to the brutal lynching of a Hindu citizen in Mymensingh. The 27-year-old was beaten to death after a mob accused him of blasphemy. His body was then hung from a tree and set on fire while the mob recorded the shocking and heinous act. Hasina said the incident reflects a broader collapse of law and order since her removal. Violence, she said, has been normalized, destabilizing Bangladesh internally and damaging its credibility, with neighbors who are watching with justified alarm, India included. She warned that a state unable to protect its citizens, especially minorities, cannot expect international confidence or trust.
This tragic killing reflects the lawlessness that uprooted my government and has multiplied under Yunus. Violence has become the norm, while the interim government either denies it or is powerless to stop it. Such incidents destabilize Bangladesh internally, but also our relationships with neighbors who are watching with justified alarm. India sees the chaos, the persecution of minorities, and the erosion of everything we built together. When you cannot maintain basic order within your borders, your credibility on the international stage collapses. This is the reality of Yunus's Bangladesh.
Meanwhile, India has responded firmly while assessing the facts. New Delhi suspended visa operations at the Indian Visa Application Centre in Chittagong until further notice. The Ministry of External Affairs rejected what it called misleading propaganda in sections of the Bangladeshi media, which reported a security breach involving scores of people at Dhaka's High Commission in New Delhi. But India said that though a few youths briefly gathered to protest the lynching, they were quickly dispersed by police within minutes. There was no breach of the High Commission and no security threat. India reiterated its commitment to the Vienna Convention and said it remains in close contact with the Bangladeshi authorities while conveying strong concerns over attacks on minorities and urging justice for the killers. While India called for restraint, transparency and adherence to international norms. For now, New Delhi is watching carefully, signaling that stability and not extremist pressure remain the foundation of regional trust. Our next story is about rising tensions in East Asia as North Korea issues a strong warning of what it calls Japan's nuclear ambitions. Pyongyang says any move by Tokyo towards nuclear weapons must be stopped at any cost, calling it a threat not just to the region, but to humanity as a whole. The statement from North Korea comes after a report claimed that Japan should possess nuclear weapons, arguing that the country cannot rely on others for its security. Pyongyang warned that if Japan acquired nuclear weapons, Asian countries would face a nuclear disaster, and that the consequences would be felt by all of mankind. The statement called on the international community to prevent Japan from going nuclear under any circumstances. Well, now China has also entered the debate, issuing a sharp warning to Japan over recent reports. China's foreign ministry said the developments were deeply concerning and signaled a dangerous shift in Japan's security thinking.
In recent years, right-wing forces have consistently pushed for Japan to expand its military capabilities. The nuclear statements made by high-ranking officials at the Japanese Prime Minister's office once again reveal that this faction is actively promoting Japan's remilitarization and rearmament. This development once again demonstrates that the erroneous and dangerous remarks by Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi on Taiwan on November 7th were by no means a coincidence. We strongly urge Japan to abide by international law and its own constitution, cease its provocative actions on nuclear issues, refrain from attempting to challenge the post-war international order, and not continue down this erroneous path.
Well, Japan, the only country to have suffered atomic bombings during World War II, has long maintained non-nuclear principles, making any such suggestion politically and diplomatically controversial. Japan has now responded to the allegations. While speaking at a regular press briefing, Japan's chief cabinet secretary said the government was aware of the reports and stressed that Japan's core policy remains unchanged.
Yes, we are aware of the reports, but we will refrain from commenting on each individual one. The government maintains its policy stance of the three non-nuclear principles. Since the end of the war, Japan has consistently contributed to peace and prosperity in the international community, and that position remains unchanged. Furthermore, as the only country to have suffered atomic bombings during wartime, Japan intends to work closely with the international community and advance realistic and practical efforts to maintain and strengthen the NPT framework toward realizing a world without nuclear weapons.
Well, notably, North Korea is believed to possess dozens of nuclear warheads and has conducted multiple tests since first testing an atomic bomb in 2006, despite United Nations sanctions. In fact, at the UN in September, North Korea's vice foreign minister made it clear that Pyongyang has no intention of giving up its nuclear arsenal. Against that backdrop, North Korea insists that Japan must not follow the same path. Well, the region is watching closely as distrust deepens and fears of a nuclear arms race in Asia continues to grow at a time when security balances are already under strain. Now, gold has broken another record. The yellow metal, which has been one of the strongest performing assets this year, surged past the $4,400 mark today. It's a reflection of how nervous the global economy is right now, as gold is often seen as a safe haven for investors. At the heart of the story is the United States economy. Fresh data from the US shows that job growth is slowing. Companies are hiring less and prices are not rising as fast as before. Well, this has strengthened expectations that the US Central Bank or Federal Reserve may cut interest rates further in the coming years. Last week, it already lowered rates slightly. That move led to investors to believe that at least 2 more rate cuts could come in 2026. Well, even if policymakers signal no more rate cuts in the coming year, when interest rates fall, money parked in bank deposits or bonds earns less. And that's when gold becomes more attractive, even though it doesn't pay any interest, because it holds value when other returns shrink. Well, another key factor pushing gold higher is a weaker US dollar. When the dollar loses strength, gold becomes cheaper for buyers using other currencies during uncertain times. And uncertainty is all around the world. Geopolitical tensions, trade disputes and worries about global growth, well, it's all led to a surge in demand for gold. The numbers clearly tell the story. Gold is up by 67% so far this year. In just the past month alone, it has gained more than 8% and continues to look strong. But gold is not the only metal shining. Silver has also stolen the spotlight with even bigger gains. Silver prices have jumped an astonishing 138% this year. Strong investment demand and limited supply have pushed silver up nearly 40% in just 1 month. Well, that makes it one of the hottest assets in the market right now. That said, experts are urging caution. While the long-term outlook for both gold and silver remains strong, short-term price swings are still possible. Markets can change direction quickly as new economic data is released or global events unfold.
With December usually producing positive returns for gold and silver, seasonality is on their side, given that gold has already risen 4% this month and we're nearing the end of the year. Bulls may want to tread with caution as volumes are to deplete, and odds of profit-taking are also likely on the rise.
For now then, gold continues to be supported by expectations of lower interest rates, a weaker dollar, strong central bank buying and ongoing global risks. And as long as uncertainty remains high, investors may continue to find comfort in the oldest store of value the world knows, because when confidence shakes, gold shines. That's all we have time for on the program today, but join us again tomorrow. Thanks very much indeed for watching. Bye-bye.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost Live, where we bring you the day's top 4 stories from across the world. I'm Joshua Barnes, live from the Firstpost studios. Let's begin with the headlines. New Zealand agrees to a wide-ranging free trade deal with India.